No.
I thought you'd blow that up. When you
see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's called an explode five. That's what that's called.
Talk about blowing it up. Texas had quite a few taken yesterday. We'll talk about all these guys for a proud coach when we return to Radio City in a moment.
The path can be hard, testing purpose, perseverance, and potential.
Colt laid it in there for the score.
But the rewards can transform. Talents who would turn their potential into immortality. This is the NFL Draft.
Coors Light Cold Logic tells us if you look at an active NFL player, he's from Texas, more likely than not. 49 current NFL players went to Austin and coached by Mack Brown, 49 of them. Florida moving up the charts, 7 more gives them 44. Yeah, the 7 in this draft alone. Welcome back to Radio City. Total Access at the Draft, presented by Lexus. Has been on the air for a half hour. Where have you been? It's Saturday morning, for crying out loud. We've got 4 more rounds to go before all is said and done. We could send 256 more kids off to their new locations in the National Football League. Coach Brown, I'll give it to you. Why this level for success, in your estimation, transferring from your program to the National Football League?
Well, Rich, number one, you've got to have a great staff that can evaluate. Evaluation is the key. If you go back to the draft, there's some bust. And when you look at how much time and energy over a 2 or 3 year period scouts and general managers put into the draft and have a guy that can't play, then you get back into the discussion, whose fault is it? If we take a high school player from the state of Texas, he comes to Texas and isn't successful, we put it on us. He was a good player. We thought he was a good player. We took him. So when the draft drafts a guy today and he's a bust, where does it go? It doesn't go back to Texas. It goes on that program wherever they have. So what we've tried to do is get great evaluators. There's 1,300 schools that play football in the state of Texas. There's 375 plus guys that sign every year in a Division 1A football program. We get to take 22 to 25. So that means we're wrong on 350 that we don't take that play against us. So it's key for us to have a profile of what we're looking for. We want a great kid that works hard from a winning team, that is good in his community, does community service. He's a leader. He's got a tough football coach. We'd like to have him be over a 3.0. All of the scouts and the teams have the same thing. They have this profile of a defensive end they want. They have this profile of a running back they want. And that's what's happening today. It's more important in the 4th through 7th rounds because they're more gray about some of these young guys in their minds than there were the last 2 days. Same for us. We have to take a fit at Texas. Then all of the kids that come to Texas want to play in the NFL. So what we do is we try to go visit NFL teams, not college teams. We practice like the NFL. We do everything we can like we do in the NFL. We work on the combine. We have a junior combine for our kids with the Gil Brandts that come in from across the country. We want our kids prepared because this is what they want to do. Now, we want an education. We want them to have a good experience. We want them to win all the games at Texas and win a championship. But this is a dream for them. And we want them to know if you come to Texas, like the numbers say, you will have a great opportunity to be in the NFL and stay in the NFL.
Wow, I feel like I was sitting on my couch with my 18-year-old son sitting next to me with a letter from this man.
And you know what you're doing right now? You're handing your son the pen and saying, sign right here. That's what you're doing.
But it's important. It's important. If you ask every kid that comes to Texas, what is your dream? Most of them are going to say, go to the NFL. Corey did it. I mean, Charles did it. They want to have today as a part of their lives. If they look at schools that don't have today as a part of their lives, they're probably not going to go because they're going to go where people are putting people in the league, and that's fair. Yeah. That's fair. And if you don't like it as a college coach, put more guys in the league.
Yeah, and that's how it works out. You know, we have this talk all the time. When you go to the University of Texas, as you go to any other major school, one of the first things you see are the pro helmets up on the board, where their kids went, because these kids all have that same dream. But one of the things I think that helps these teams, these kids transition is the underestimated toughness element that you get out of these kids. they're in a real crucible at the University of Texas because everybody knows everything that the Longhorns do. So there's an entitlement, but there's also a responsibility. And I've seen the grit, I've seen the toughness. Jordan Shipley is a great example of that to me. This is a young man who was hurt virtually the first 3-4 years while he was at the University of Texas. Many thought his career was over. He came back his last 2 years, was not hurt, played at a really high level, and had an opportunity to go in the NFL draft yesterday to the Cincinnati Bengals. One of these guys that we can evaluate all you want. He makes plays all the time. But I watched Texas come from down big in games and come back because these kids are a lot tougher than maybe they're given credit for, Corey.
Yeah, man, I tell you what, I mean, I guess my biggest thing, I didn't go to a school like Texas. I went to an SEC school, but let's face it, Rich, I know you were waiting on me to say that bottom of the barrel. And so I think, by the way, it's not bottom of the barrel anymore. We did win a bowl game last year and coming up a little bit, but Coach Johnson does a great job. But I guess my question to you would be, Coach, if I am a recruit and I'm coming into Texas, all right, you go down to Cedar Hill. We just talked about, you mentioned Desmond Briscoe goes to Kansas. How many of those guys have you let get away that you kind of like knock yourself over the head like, well, wait a minute, how do we let this guy get out of state and now he's double catching it behind my back? I mean, I guess that would be the question because I went to a Cedar Hill game this year. I went to a Skyline High School game when I was down in Texas watching the Red River rivalry. You win that game again. And I was just wondering, how is it that you let some of those guys get out of the state, or is it they're just not good enough to play at Texas?
There'll be a lot of guys today that when you look at the NFL coaches are going to say, gosh, I wish we'd have gotten him. He went the time before we got there. That's why the draft's so crazy and no one can tell what happens. If we're looking at 6 defensive ends and can only take 2, right, and all 6 are good, we can't worry about the other 4. Lou Holtz made one of the best statements I've ever heard for me as a young coach when he was at Notre Dame. He said, worry about the ones you get, because if you don't get the guy and he plays on a team that you play and you play him for 4 years and he's healthy and he starts, you'll see him 4 days of your life. You got those you signed 365 days a year, so worry about the ones you got, don't worry about the ones that get away, and that's all you can do. I sit around all the time and I'll see Briscoe and I'll run to our guy that recruits Cedar Hill and say, what'd you do? Coach, it wasn't me, the other guy. It's hard to pin them, but very honestly, you got to go with the ones you've got. You've got to love the ones you've got. You got to win with the ones you've got. You can evaluate if you might have missed to do a better job of evaluating next time. You cannot sit around and second guess you all the time. At the time you made the decision, with the information available, you went with your guy. Trust your guy. Go forward with him and make him better.
And if you're looking for another in-state talent evaluator, I think there's a Coach Taylor at East Dillon High who got kicked out of Dillon High but he's wrongly, and he's built that program across town.
And he's gone back to take them on, too, hasn't he?
Full eyes, clear hearts, can't lose.
Clear eyes,
clear eyes, full heart, can't lose. Okay, callers like Colt Logic says Texas is good. I think that's what we basically got in this segment.